With the highly anticipated release of version 1.4, a ton of content has dropped along with a few new characters consisting of Camellia and Lumi. Now Camellia is of course the most popular character of version 1.4 since she has been teasing her release since the beginning of the game. But since 4-star characters do tend to hold a lot of value themselves, alongside the new main event granting early access to play with Lumi, I do expect a lot of players to be looking forward to her release in the second half of version 1.4. So due to having full access to her kit and a chance to test her out early, I'll be breaking down Lumi's kit to outline the amount of value she holds, team synergies you may want to consider before her release, weapons to utilize, viable echo builds to prepare, and ultimately, if Lumi is actually worth the investment. Just before we jump into it, as always, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Now kicking it off with Lumi's kit, as we know Lumi is a Broadblade Electro 4-star DPS that primarily deals basic attack damage and can be utilized as both main DPS or sub DPS. Given she is capable of dealing good amounts of damage along with having a few aspects to her kit which would be extremely valuable to her allies. The most unique aspect of Lumi's kit would be that she can switch between two different stances at will through her resonant skill. So depending on which mode Lumi is in, she would have access to a completely different set of attacks. As when activating the resonant skill pounce, Lumi will lunge at the enemy dealing damage and will enter the yellow light mode, where Lumi would focus on dealing more ranged attacks. Additionally, Lumi is able to enter the zoom mode, which allows her to be quicker than the usual sprint speed, and once she is in this mode, she will deal ranged attacks that are considered as basic attack damage and they will lock onto the enemy. So you would be capable of dealing damage whilst keeping your distance, but the cost of the zoom mode is that Lumi is unable to dodge and it does consume stamina. So you would definitely need to manage your stamina efficiently to the point where you won't run out and be left wide open. Now as for the red light mode, which is accessible once activating the resonant skill rebound, Lumi would focus on dealing more melee attacks through her basic attacks and heavy attacks. Lumi's heavy attacks in specific are able to deal shockwaves of electro damage and are considered as basic attack damage, which does allow Lumi to keep a bit of distance between her and the enemy whilst dealing solid DPS. So just due to the fact that Lumi is capable of switching her entire playstyle through her resonant skill, which has no cooldown, does certainly allow her to be a fun and flexible character to play with. Now as for the Forte circuit, Lumi does in fact have the very first double Forte gauge that corresponds with the mode that she is in, as in order to fill the yellow light Forte gauge, Lumi would need to deal attacks whilst in the yellow light mode, and the same would apply for the red light mode. Once you do fill the Forte gauge, the standard pounce and rebound skills will be replaced with energized pounce and energized rebound, which are essentially the upgraded version of her standard skills as they deal much more damage and scale off basic attack damage. As for Lumi's liberation, it is just a standard burst of electro damage, which is completely fine since Lumi's kit is already stacked with a ton of unique abilities. Lastly, and as for one of Lumi's more valuable abilities, the outro skill is capable of providing 38% resonant skill damage bonus for 10 seconds, which is a little less than Taoqi's 14-second buff, but 10 seconds should still be sufficient enough for her allies to benefit massively. In addition, depending on how many sparks are on Lumi's Forte gauge, per 25 sparks she will fire off a laser that scales off basic attack damage. So along with a powerful outro buff, Lumi is capable of dealing considerable damage when switching out. Now considering Lumi is a 4-star character, her sequence nodes would definitely be worth considering, and as expected, they do hold immense value for Lumi given the first 5 sequence nodes do provide a significant boost in damage, ranging from the enhanced skills ignoring 20% defense, a 30% increase in resonance vibration damage, and even receiving 30% basic attack damage bonus. So these sequence nodes would be amazing if you are utilizing Lumi as a main DPS, as she will be capable of dealing a ton more damage. However, Lumi's final sequence node is one that we are all familiar with, and it is extremely valuable, since when activating the Resonance Liberation, Lumi will provide 20% attack to the team. So just as characters such as Sunhwa and Danjin hold immense value due to this powerful sequence node, so will Lumi now, as she can be utilized as a strong main DPS and sub DPS. Now as for Lumi's team synergies, and if you are utilizing her as a sub DPS, given her very powerful Ultra skill providing 38% resonant skill damage bonus, it would be pretty obvious that she will synergize extremely well with characters that primarily deal resonant skill damage. So with that, the first character that may come to mind would be the Queen of DPS, Jinxin. Though due to the fact that Lumi isn't able to deal coordinated attacks, it would mean overall that Lumi isn't the best sub DPS for Jinxin, as that would obviously be Baizhi. But in terms of allowing Jinxin to deal the most damage possible, Lumi would definitely be the best character to enable just that, given she provides an insanely high resonant skill damage boost, and as I mentioned earlier, her E6 will be capable of providing a massive 20% attack bonus to allies after activating the Resonance Liberation. So unlike Taoqi, which is capable of only providing the resonant skill damage boost, Lumi would be able to provide 20% attack on top for Jinxin, enabling her to deal her max possible damage. Another great synergy for Lumi would definitely be alongside Changli, given that she is another insane DPS character that deals a ton of damage scaling off resonant skill damage. So exactly the same with Jinxin, Lumi would be capable of providing extremely potent buffs to Changli and will increase her DPS to a whole new level. Lastly, the Crimson Haired dual wielder Danjin would be an amazing DPS to pair with Lumi, considering that she is capable of spamming her resonant skill in exchange for her own HP, which is quite a risky playstyle, but the payoff is huge as she will be able to deal a great amount of damage. So again, with Lumi providing a huge resonant skill damage buff along with 20% extra attack, it would allow her to buff Danjin like no other character can and will enable her to deal significantly more damage. Now if you are utilizing Lumi as a main DPS character, considering that she deals quite a lot of damage considered as basic attack damage, Sunhua will definitely be one of Lumi's best sub DPS options, given she does provide a 38% basic attack damage bonus through her Ultra skill, which will certainly provide a spike in Lumi's DPS. Additionally, since Sunhua is able to generate concerto energy insanely quick and is a great burst damage dealer herself, she would be able to deal great damage within the little field time she has and would provide Lumi with ample time on the field. Also, with Lumi's Ultra skill boosting resonant skill damage, it would be quite valuable for Sunhua as a good portion of her damage does scale off resonant skill damage, meaning both characters would provide a valuable Ultra skill buff to each other and will majorly boost their performance. As for the final and more premium synergy, without a doubt Lumi and Yinlin would be a great combo, and since they are both on the same banner, I assume a lot of players will be able to run these two together. Now given Yinlin can increase electro damage bonus by 20% and resonance liberation damage bonus by 25% through her Ultra skill, Lumi would be one of the characters that Yinlin does specialize in supporting, as she would provide immense value to Lumi with her Ultra skill and allow her to deal a lot more damage. Additionally, Yinlin is able to deal coordinated attacks, which means she would provide Lumi with ample field time, and last but not least, Yinlin is an amazing damage dealer herself and will be able to deal explosive burst damage whenever she is switched onto the field. So with that, given the amount of utility there is within Yinlin's kit, it definitely makes her a perfect partner for Lumi. Now moving on to weapons Lumi would be able to utilize. Given she is a Broadblade user, there will be quite a few powerful options, and as for Lumi's best option, it would definitely be the Vedant Summit, since it does provide a huge 48% crit damage main stat, and as for the passive, it increases attribute damage by 12% and provides up to 48% increased heavy attack damage through casting the Liberation or Intro skill. Of course, with the effects alone, the Vedant Summit is a powerful weapon, but especially considering that Lumi will deal quite a lot of basic attacks and heavy attacks, along with the multipliers being increased in the focus modes, the Vedant Summit will undeniably be Lumi's best weapon. Alternatively, the Aegis of Harvest will be another great weapon for Lumi, considering it does provide 24.3% crit rate as the main stat, and as for the passive, it does also grant 12% attribute damage and will be able to increase resonant skill damage by up to 48%. Now Lumi would definitely be able to utilize the attribute damage bonus and crit rate main stat, but given her resonant skill is replaced by either energized pounce or energized rebound when her forte gauge is maxed, it means she wouldn't be capable of fully utilizing the resonant skill damage bonus, as those skills do scale off basic attack damage. That being said, it still is a great weapon for Lumi, as it does provide her with extremely valuable effects to allow for more consistency with her crits and damage. As for the final 5-star option, it would be the Lustrous Razor, which is a great overall weapon for pretty much any broadblade DPS. Given it offers a huge 36% attack bonus main stat, increases energy regen by 12.8% and resonance liberation damage up to 21%. Now the resonance liberation damage bonus is in fact conditional, as the character is required to activate the resonant skill 3 times, with each time providing a 7% liberation damage bonus. So considering that Lumi is able to activate her resonant skill as many times as she would like, it does allow for the Lustrous Razor to be a comfortable weapon to use on Lumi, as she would be able to fully utilize all of the effects quite easily. So even though it doesn't have a crit main stat like the previous 2 Broadblades, it still would be a great weapon overall. Now as for the 4-star alternatives, given the Autumn Trace is the only 4-star weapon that provides a crit main stat, it automatically would be Lumi's best option, especially with the passive increasing attack by up to 20% when dealing basic attack damage or heavy attack damage, which is literally what Lumi will primarily be dealing. So if you have managed to pick this weapon up from the Battle Pass, it would certainly be a great option. Alternatively, you do have more generic options such as the Waning Redshift and Helios Cleaver, which are both able to provide buffs in attack through casting the Resonant skill. But given the Waning Redshift has a higher base attack and offers Resonance energy in addition to the attack bonus, it would definitely be the better option. So those are the weapons Lumi can utilize, and they are all great choices, but of course the 5-star options would be significantly better for Lumi's overall performance. Now as for Lumi's viable echo builds, considering that Lumi can be utilized as either a main DPS or sub DPS, there will be a few builds to consider based on how you intend to play with her. As if you are playing with Lumi as a main DPS, then the 5-piece Void Thunder set using a 4-3-3-1-1 build would definitely be the best choice, given it does increase electro damage by 10% with the 2-piece effect, and then further increases it by 30% through the 5-piece effect when casting heavy attacks or the Resonant skill. So in order to deal the most damage with Lumi, the Void Thunder set would definitely be the best set, and as for the main echo to use, it would be the Tempest Mephis due to its very quick echo skill animation, along with the passive providing electro damage bonus and heavy attack damage bonus, which are 2 effects of extreme value to Lumi. Additionally, given the Void Thunder set does have 2 4-cost echoes, it does mean you can run a 4-4-1-1-1 build if need be. But as usual, the 4-3-3-1-1 build will be the best build. Alternatively, the Lingering Tune set would be a great set to utilize, considering it is a great universal set, as it does provide 10% attack through the 2-piece effect and an additional 20% through the 5-piece effect whilst remaining on the field. Also, outro skill damage will be increased by 60%, which will be great for Lumi if she is able to fire off any lasers when switching out. So the Lingering Tune set would especially be a great set for Lumi, as she can fully utilize all of the effects. Now if you are playing Lumi more as a sub DPS, then the Moonlit Cloud set will be the set to go with. Considering the 2-piece effect provides 10% energy regen, and with the 4-piece effect, it will increase the attack of the next character switching in by 22.5% when Lumi activates her outro skill. So with that, the Moonlit Cloud set would be a great set overall, and as for the main echo to run, it would certainly be the Impermanent Terran, given it does provide an additional 12% damage increase to the character switching in when the outro skill is activated, allowing for the next resonator switching in to be completely stacked with buffs that increase their damage. Now as for the stats to prioritize on your echoes, regardless of how you play Lumi, they will remain the same. So as for the main stats, you would ideally want either crit rate or crit damage on the 4 cost, electro damage bonus on the 3 costs, and attack percent on the 1 costs. As for the substats, crit rate and crit damage will of course be priority, following with basic attack damage bonus, and then either attack percent, energy regen, or heavy attack damage bonus would be perfect. Now lastly, is it worth actually investing in Lumi? Considering that she is the first character to have the ability to seamlessly switch between two different modes, providing you with the choice of playstyle you desire, along with having great flexibility to be utilized as either a main DPS or sub DPS, I do believe Lumi is an amazing character and would be worth the investment. Especially given the combo between her ultra skill and the final sequence node, she is able to buff your main DPS significantly, and even more so than Taoqi. Though that being said, she is very different to Taoqi, as she is a DPS character, which does make her unique and worth building even if you have already built Taoqi. So with that, if you do enjoy investing and playing with your 4-star characters, then Lumi will definitely be the next character to invest in. However, it is completely down to you, as she isn't exactly a must build, but given how fun, unique and versatile she is, if you have nothing else to prioritize, then I would definitely suggest to invest in Lumi. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on how you are finding version 1.4 so far. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.